Hey all, welcome back to Tony Hawk's Proving Ground. I'm Aesthetic here with the same crew again. We got Blank Tester.
Hey kids, how's it going?
And Canuck Dude.
Sup?
And so this is going to be showing off the arcade machines over the next 3 videos. I'll be breaking it up based on city. So this first video is the arcade machines in the Philly areas. In each arcade machine I'm going to show Classic Mode and Hawkman, but I won't be showing the high score runs. Those are exactly what you'd expect. You know, give you high scores, and your 2-minute run is all about doing that. But, you know, it's cool to see how Neversoft, reimagined kind of these areas for, well, you know, the classic goals. And these will follow the same sort of set that was, you know, set down in the previous games as classic modes of 3 high scores, collect skate, collect combo, collect secret tape, do 2 like level specific tricks in a certain spot kind of thing, find 5 of a collectible, you know, the same sort of package. And I know I showed off Classic Mode and Hawkman for Inner City Philly in the first video, but I'm just also starting here with it for fullness.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Wow, they had the camera, like, zoomed back.
Yeah, there's a classic mode kind of camera, and you can actually switch to that during the main game. I stuck with their sort of dynamic camera.
Yeah.
I feel like it might be a little too far back.
Yeah, I agree.
A tiny bit.
Yeah, this felt a little far, like on this one, maybe a little closer on the other ones. And yeah, we kind of also already looked at, well, the arcade machine as, you know, aesthetic in the first video, but it's sort of cool how they went with it and have all the characters as sort of pixelated versions of themselves. Just, you know, it's definitely cool how they presented it.
Yeah. Well, is there, so, I guess I didn't notice. Were there unique goals per area as well as the generic ones?
I mean, as part of the set of 10 goals, there will be unique ones for each area in that 10.
How unique are they? And
like here in Inner City Philly, one was, you know, do a heel flip over this gap, and the other one was, oh shit, what was the other one?
Manual the 5 chalk outlines.
That is the, you know, 5 collectibles thing, but, you know, like heel flip over the roof vent gap is obviously specific for this area.
Oh, that's the Thug 2 sound effect.
So yeah, kind of and yeah, they have sort of the classic sound effects. So, and one other thing, yeah, you do pick a pro. You have to pick a pro. You don't do these as your created skater, but all the pros will have the special trick list that your created skater has.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It basically is cosmetic for, you know, what pro gets picked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, my kind of initial thoughts are that, well, it's definitely cool to have this, but, you know, the pacing of the main game was kind of slowed down from how the original games were with this sort of gameplay. And so going to do these, the classic and then Hawkman, kind of catch you off guard with, you know, how it's faster sort of than the rest of the game has been. Especially with me doing all of these at the very end. So I actually have kind of a good bit of trouble with it. I'm not saying the game wasn't built for this. I'm saying that I personally, once again, have
once you get
not great reaction times.
Once you get something lodged in your muscle memory, you know, it can be really difficult to, like, unlearn that. It's like when, you know... well, actually, I mean, I'm not even sure I need an analogy here. It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this first place as well, this will look a little different in terms of when I complete goals and then what it looks like when my run ends. Because since I already showed this off on the save file, it went to where, I've completed all 10, so I got pro on this, and now whenever I restart it, it gives, the overview for all 10 so that I could try to do it all in one run if I want to get sick.
Okay.
Whereas on, areas that I haven't attempted this at all on, if I do 5 out of 10 goals in run 1, then in run 2 it only cares about the other 5.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, since getting pro is just, 2 fully complete a classic mode thing.
I see. So it would be... Okay, yeah. Pro is just doing all 10, and Sick is doing them all in one run, yeah.
Yeah.
Where's it? Oh, there it is.
Uh-huh.
Ta-da!
Did you really have to manual over it?
Yeah.
I don't know, that
Yep.
seems disrespectful.
They're dead. Who's gonna care?
Haha, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking dead people.
We also looked at Hawkman in the first video, but another introduction. It'll basically create this line that you need to follow, and as the game's explaining, different colored pellets, you need to be doing different things to actually collect them. Like yellow pellets, you have to be grinding. And so once again, it's like, pro is to collect all of them in a run, and sick would be to do all of it in a combo. And especially here, this is where it's like, to get sick, you need to have memorized the whole thing. You can't really still be reacting to what's in front of you. And I didn't want to get past that point, so like, I'm going to be reacting kind of, and so basically every Hawkman, there's gonna be something where it's like, I screw up getting a piece somewhere, or just like bumble around and look, yeah. Once again, it's like, it's going too fast for me, I'd say.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, dedicated replays would be the way to get sick, but...
Yeah, but it is good at showing you interesting lines. Like here, where wall riding off of kind of this loading dock up to grinding the side of the building, lets you get up sort of to the train tracks.
Right.
Yeah?
I always like when games do this. Often, you could create a game world, but if you don't have something there for the player to do with it, it might go unused.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't help to have a gigantic game world if that game world is just empty.
Yeah.
And here they've got a lot of interesting stuff. So this is now the classic in what area?
Downtown Philly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you show this before?
Oh, those
as well?
6 scores are already getting pretty
No.
high.
Okay.
I just showed, in the first video of this Proving Ground playthrough, I just showed the arcade in Inner City,
Right.
so people knew they existed and kind of what was in there.
Foot plant the stamp tax.
Yeah.
Huh.
Is that just a thing they have there?
Yeah. Canuck, how do you feel about classic mode?
Full disclosure, fully ignored all of these.
Oh.
Really?
Didn't even fuck with them at all. I tried one of them, was like, didn't do anything else with them.
Oh.
Just not
okay.
for me, really.
Really?
Why
Yeah.
do you feel that? Like it's not for you, I guess.
I don't know, I just kind of liked the other things more. I would, like, the time that I spent playing this game, I rather would have done the story missions than do these things, I guess. I've never really been a side missions person in any game, really.
So when you say it's not for you, you mean you don't like it that much. Not, it wasn't designed for players like you. Because that's the way I took it.
Oh, yeah, no, I just mean, like, I personally would have rather spent my time playing the game doing the other things, and so I did.
Yeah. I would just
I
think,
like the addition, like, in concept.
I would have thought that, like, a player who's played from the old games would really appreciate something like this. And, like, would want to play this, and not really view it as the side mission so much as, this is the classic, this is the original stuff, and then, like, the story is, like, another thing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear people's opinions, because it's one of those sort of things where no one directly says it, but this obviously didn't satisfy people that wanted, a Tony Hawk 5 at the time that was just like the first 4.
Yeah.
I say at the time. This obviously wasn't like, okay, well, Neversoft strayed away from what they were doing before, but now that they made classic mode, this game is just as good as, the previous ones. It obviously didn't get that effect, so.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much an extra. It wasn't like something on, in Underground 2, where classic mode was like an advertisement on the back of the box, like 2 games in 1,
yeah,
it's
true.
It's kind of here,
Yeah.
Man, this parkour.
Yeah? Especially when you're on a timer, that's when the flaws start to come out. Once again, having quite a lot of minutes to, follow Bam and climb his stuff in his, one mission in, Air and Space Museum, you could take it slow, and, going slow, things work a lot better than trying to go fast.
Yeah.
I didn't have the most fun with these, and it was tough. Not just because, my reaction is not that good, but just things started to really compound, because now in classic mode it asks you to do so much. And again, especially with Hawkman, of you have to do this crazy line that you basically have to memorize. It got kind of frustrating.
Yeah, personally, my opinion, and I've heard this opinion around, I know Rad Rat mentioned it in his video somewhat, that the game engine isn't suited for this kind of gameplay anymore, really. It just kind of isn't.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels uncomfortable, in a sense.
Yeah, and
I can believe that.
Especially on, Xbox 360, with that D-pad. That D-pad was not designed for extreme sports games. It's nowhere near as good as Sony's D-pad, and
wait, hold on.
You're gonna see that, as I try to exploit, backflip 900s to get the 6 scores, and I'm gonna be screwing it up left and right, because, the slightest little input to the side, I start turning. That's its own thing, where you're just gonna see that. Because with extreme sports like these, games like these, you end up using the D-pad for, everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Especially when the Tony Hawk series sort of, started back on the PlayStation 1, where, analog sticks were new.
You sounded like you disagreed.
I feel like I get a lot more control with the D-pad, especially with inputs for air tricks, than if I were to try to use the control stick for everything.
Really? Because I played through both Project 8 and Proving Ground with the left analog stick on 360.
See, I would never... anytime I'm playing a game or really doing anything that involves a controller that requires me to be, requires me to press buttons in the cardinal directions, I don't use the thumbstick. Exactly, to me it's the same as using navigating a menu in on the Xbox. If I'm using the thumbstick, I guarantee at least once I'm gonna hold what I think is right, and it'll be right and down just enough that it considers it down. And I'm gonna miss. I always do.
Yeah.
If I need to input right down circle to do a 900, I'm gonna go to the D-pad where it is supposed to basically be
one-to-one
digital
right
inputs
down
in the cardinal directions, and you look at an Xbox 360 controller and it's just not separated.
There's no notches or anything to catch you on.
Yeah.
Personally, because on the one hand, I actually do really relate to that thing. Whenever you're with an analog stick, you're never really going to get them perfectly in the digital directions, any cardinal direction. But also, whenever I'm having to play a game in which I have to interact with an Xbox 360 controller, I avoid using the D-pad. Just in general.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like most people, I despise the 360 D-pad.
I wouldn't say that's most people.
Really?
There are a lot of people who don't like the 360 D-pad when compared to other D-pads. but it's not like there's a huge group of people who, apropos of nothing else, hate the 360 D-pad.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm actually the founder of the 360 D-pad haters club. At least the Texas chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the specific application of what an extreme sports game wants you to do with the controller. Yeah, for, first-person shooters or a lot of other genres where hitting the D-pad is just, the four things will get you something quick and that's it. That's fine. But where, the D-pad can be something that you gravitate to using a lot. Again, that the 360 doesn't really keep you well separate in the four directions when you want it. We shouldn't spend the whole video talking about the D-pad. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, just talking about controllers in general real quick, I had an argument with somebody once. Not really an argument. He felt very strongly about the 360 controller was worse than the PS3 controller. And he listed his reasons, and one of them was that the PS3 D-pad he likes better. And I was like, yeah, I guess I do like that it's separate buttons better, but they're not really separate buttons. It's just like they poke through the controller as separate buttons. They're not actually unique buttons. But like, I don't know. He was saying that he really liked the thumbsticks better on the PS3, and I was very against that because, I don't know, it took me a long time to get used to the PS3 thumbsticks. They always seemed really slippery to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they're kind of, like concave instead of convex, or the other way around?
Other way around, yeah. And then, also, the material that they use to let it stick to your fingers or, like, hold to your thumbs just doesn't grip my thumbs very well. It's that mottled surface that just kind of brushes against my thumbs unless I'm pressing hard on the thumbsticks. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I eventually did get used to it because I actually owned a PS3 longer than I owned an Xbox, but I owned an Xbox first. So.
Yeah, and I got a extra thing to add that doesn't relate at all to this game, but it's still an interesting thing I want to get out there. So you all know that I love Amped 2, right?
Yeah.
And that game is entirely designed around the thumbsticks and
Sure, yeah.
and it's the thumbstick sensitivity. The style system is all about half holding a thumbstick in a direction to spin slower or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Like, playing it on an Xbox 360, it is so much harder to style, to get, like, half turns or whatever. Like, it was designed for Xbox Original, and also, like, Xbox Original Microsoft controllers. Do not bring your third-party Mad Cats to Amp 2 to try and get points. Like, no other controller can do what the original did in terms of, thumbstick sensitivity, and the game is completely built for that. So it's like, I just wanted to get that out there. Okay, so going back to the game, we're in FDR, and yeah, like, I'm sure this wasn't exactly the order of levels, because as you see, the 6 score, like, really jumped up. And I got my ass kicked on the first try trying to get the 6 score in there. But you'll also see, especially in the Hawkman one, that, like, yeah, FDR is a cool area, but the whole part of it that is unfinished is really rough to skate in and try to skate through. Like, this is just seriously where all the flaws, all the little jankiness and all the areas where things don't exactly come together or there's not exactly the right opportunity really hit ya.
Yeah, just kind of, it really feels unfinished in not a great way.
I don't remember. Did you have like similar opinions about the classic mode goals in Project 8?
I don't know. I don't remember having big thoughts either way.
Yeah.
The way that classic mode and Hawkman and such is presented in this game, with kind of separating it into these arcade machines, I know this almost sounds backwards, but it almost adds a greater incentivize you to want to do all of them. Whereas in Project 8, classic mode was always just, another goal you could do on your way to Project 8. Or, like, obviously,
Yeah.
if you wanted to get to rank, like, 4 or 1, you would need to do them. Yeah, I know that sounds completely backwards, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know how to put it correctly at the moment. Well, let's just say I didn't try nearly as hard in Project 8 to do these classic modes as I am here, and Hawkman didn't exist in Project 8.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is, this is actually not how I work, but maybe it's how some other people work. But I'm thinking if there's a difference between, like, say to move on to the next story part of a game, you have 2 different missions you can do, and you can do either one of them, and that'll unlock the next part of the story. Are you more likely to do both of those things if it's like that, or if you only if one of those was like a part of the story and the other was a side mission? Because that's kind of what I'm thinking here.
You know what? I'll change completely my thought process, and I'll instead go with the areas in Proving Ground are a lot more complexly designed than the areas in Project 8. Project 8 had very kind of obvious,
straightforward,
and you know, like very obvious corners, very obvious walls to an area. Whereas, I mean, as FDR just represented, it can get pretty complex in the sake of realism for an area here in Proving Ground.
Yeah.
I'll go with that instead.
What area is this?
Still FDR. This is Hawkman.
Oh, wow, I forgot there's 2 of these for...
Yeah, there's 2 sections, yeah.
Because there's also, there's arcade machines in the, transition areas, right?
Right.
Are there really? Okay.
I was going to talk about that once I got there, but yeah, so I'll be going by the grouping that the game does sort of for, like, gaps, and there it groups, Bay Bridge Tunnel with Philly, groups Harbor Bridge with Baltimore, and the Metro with DC. So, like, I'll have the Bay Bridge Tunnel here in Philly's video as the last area.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so Hawkman here, I mean, you could tell by me, like, trying to use focus mode as much as I freaking can that it won my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, almost showing it off, in one take after I finally got it, maybe neuters my point of how hard it is to get.
No.
I don't know. I feel like I'm being too serious, like...
I don't know. I mean, like,
I think...
think...
Proving Ground, it's not bad.
Well, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not as fun as the rest of the game. There are parts of this game that I think seemed not even just moderately fun, but actually genuinely, like, really fun. And then there are other parts that seemed kind of jank. And I don't think this part seems jank, I say, while trying to get on this.
Yeah, while this is going on.
No, I mean, I'm screwing this up.
But, like, I don't think the game is jank in this part. I think it's just, I think, like you said, Kinect, and also, like, I guess Radrat said, this is not an engine that's really suited for this, or maybe it was more like the levels that they designed. The design
was
philosophy.
more Radrat's point.
Yeah, the design philosophy of the levels, which was to go for something sort of realistic, doesn't quite line up with, this sort of, Hawkman
The ethos
maybe,
of
but
the Tony Hawk series.
yeah, which isn't to say that it's a bad game or even a bad Tony Hawk game, but it is, the classic mode is built around a very specific sort of level design ethos. Yeah. Who are you gonna throw here? Nija.
Yeah, after going with Stevie on the first one, now I'm going alphabetical down the list.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, another thing, I guess to talk about Radrat just a little bit, it was always kind of like, do I bring this up in the main series? I don't know, and we never ended up doing it.
Oh.
But, like, if you watch Radrat's video on this game, he especially either had the most cursed version ever, or I don't know what. because, you know, he talks about these performance issues that, for me, I never had. Maybe it's an Xbox 360, PS3 thing. But that also, you know, there's also issues he has talking about, like, missions or the game structure, where his issues seemed a little unfounded to me.
Right.
Like, he talked about how, you know, some parts of the game seemed to be locked off and he didn't know when they would get unlocked, like the Metro, for example. But as I showed, if you go through 1.5 episodes, any selection of episodes, you'll get everything.
Yeah.
You'll get the Metro and such. So it was really just like, you did not play long enough then. Or...
Yeah,
I obviously should have watched his video more recently, because I know there were other things where it's like a counter that, you know.
The thing is, like, it's not really helpful to... I don't think it's necessarily helpful to respond to a video in that sort of minutia, because... at least not in this situation, because, you know, he had problems playing the game, and sometimes that's a problem of the game not being good at conveying what you need to do or what's going on. And other times the problem lies squarely between the console and the player. You know, just the person sitting there playing the game is kind of just not understanding what needs to happen. And, you know, there's not really much we can do or say about that. And I don't think Rad Rat generally has, you know, he's not like, who was that guy who was, like, infamous for always complaining about games but never understanding how they work?
Darkside Phil?
Yeah, Darkside Phil. I was gonna say Darkside Phil, but I couldn't remember if that was actually his name. Or if I was just gonna be slandering someone else. But, you know, like, I don't think Rad Rat has, like, a reputation like Darkside Phil of just not getting games. You know? I mean, maybe he does, and I don't know.
Yeah, once again, I'm sitting here looking like an asshole because I can't remember more specifics, but it just felt like I disagreed with his Proving Ground video a lot more than I did, like, American Wasteland or Project 8. Mm-hmm. Canuck, do you remember this?
I remember two things that he had problems with. One of them, the final mission didn't work for him. He got to the final mission where you choose the pros. He did Artosari's thing, then went to select... that was interesting. He went to select Bob's mission, and it just replayed Artos, and it basically, like, soft-locked the game, and he couldn't complete the mission, and he just kind of gave up there. Oh. Which, like, I mean, yeah.
That's,
like he didn't...
that's probably what I meant by the most cursed version, because...
Yeah. I mean, that sounds really cursed, and, like, I don't even know how you would reproduce
360 games
that.
scratch. 360 discs scratch, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. But another thing that he had problems with that I'm sort of, like, two minds of is the nail the grab system, specifically, like, the nailing the grab, where if you hold a grab, like, far enough out and for long enough, it'll say you nailed it. And one of the goals, like, you specifically had to nail a grab 5 times in one jump for pro, and he just didn't know that the thing was it was a thing. Like, he wasn't holding it long enough because he didn't know how to nail a grab.
Yeah.
And it was kind of when I was watching it, I knew how to do it. So I was kind of like, what are you doing, man? It's telling you right there at the bottom. But also, does the game ever explain that?
I mean, that is a very confusing naming convention, because, you know...
Yes.
Like, if it was, like, if Nail the Grab was the name of the system, and then, like, Destroyed was, like, what they called it, or something else, you know, then it'd be like, you know, you killed that grab, so then the goal can be kill 5 grabs, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, I know exactly what I need to do. Not just going to nail the grab 5 times. And then...
I'm kind of two minds as well, because now I remember, when I saw that in this video, I was like, buddy. But also, thinking about it, like, the game, like, will give you a sound effect and say nailed in the bottom left corner, but it's not like
that's
it,
the only
you know,
time it's mentioned.
is really big across the screen. You could definitely miss it or not even know how to get it if you didn't know what the game wanted.
Yeah.
Or since it's so nondescript, you could think that just means that you've done a new grab, not knowing that it's a distinct, you did like a tweaked version of this grab that is worth more points.
Yeah, and I think I get why you guys are of two minds on that, because like it's not that his criticism was this is unclear. His criticism is I don't get it. But the criticism should be leveled at the game that it is unclear and this is our evidence. He was confused. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
So like he's the evidence of the criticism, not so much the criticizer.
And also, in his position, like, he's playing this busted copy of this game.
Yeah.
It's not, I guess it wouldn't be unreasonable for him to think that this
other thing is just a busted part of the game,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got a busted copy of game, you never know what's intentional and what's not. And then it's like, what even do I do about this?
So I guess, like, yeah, he has legitimate complaints, but frames it in a way of just like, this game is broken, man. I don't want to play this. What happened to Tony Hawk?
Yeah.
And that is not helpful.
And if that was like the wider experience of people playing the game, then I totally get that, but I don't know.
Which in a sense it is. Like, a lot of people saw this game, saw this engine, was like, this isn't... Well, probably if they're thinking this, they've been thinking this for a while, but they're like, this isn't Tony Hawk anymore. Which is also somewhat what we've been saying, where, like, you know, the engine has changed so much that that trying to go back to the original style of the games is kind of
weird,
for the game to do. Yeah.
I have kind of like a thought philosophy on that, but I'm going to save that for next video. Since we're apparently making these really serious. So yeah, next video will be Baltimore's arcade machines.